with the Heartfulness Institute. We are extremely happy to have with us today Brook, who's joining us from Boulder, Colorado. And with us is also Dr. Snehal Deshpande. She is joining us from Mumbai, India. We have these wonderful ladies with us today who have invested a whole part of their life in the passion of their lives, that is babies and children. And their work in the wellness not only concerns babies, children in various ways. We'll go into that and explore that a little bit with both of them today. But their work affects many lives, the lives of the families of these children, and on the whole, the lives of our very community, because when we take care of our babies, we're taking care of our future. Now, taking care of babies means a lot more in our world than it would have been 200, 300 years ago. So much has changed, especially now with the COVID, it's gone all the way into another drive altogether. So let me ask you both by first beginning by, can you please both introduce yourselves to our viewers? So let's start with Annie Brook. So Annie, welcome to the show. And can you please share a little bit about you with our viewers?
Yes, thank you so much. And you said it right. My passion for helping children and families and babies has been, I grew up in a big family, and you understand how much you need each other when you're growing up as children. And fortunately, my mother studied she studied early childhood development, so she could help us from the beginning, because myself, I was born premature and in an incubator. And so I had quite a temper as a child. And my mother needed the skills to help me resolve that. And my own work developed out of really being curious about the connection from our spirit to our humanity to our way we behave. I was fortunate to study and learn all the body-based psychotherapy and to work with children who were sexually abused as foster children or gang youth in public schools. And those things had me always looking back to earliest development. What started? Where did these problems begin? And then I became very interested in the journey of pre and perinatal psychology, meaning the mother's care, prenatally, the birth, the early attachment, and working with adults who would echo back, their adult problems would echo back to the childhood and to the infant development. So I am grateful. I've had wonderful teachers in developmental movement and understanding babies' crawling patterns and helping people and helping practitioners and professionals, as well as helping parents. So I'm happy to talk with Dr. Snehal today and really enjoy our discussion. And I live in Boulder, Colorado. I have the Brook Institute.
Fantastic. So you have this institute called the Brook Institute that you started, and you just explained, I would say, the wide vista of the work that you conduct. And in spite of the passion, I'm sure that it is work in which you have invested yourself a lot, means a lot of quality time, a lot of yourself that you give to it. And whatever you say on this call is going to mean a lot to parents and people listening, because I understand that it's not just about babies, it's about children, it's about early life, it's about going all the way back to conception, motherhood, and the entire process by which our subconscious mind gets formed, by the way the patterns set in, and how those turn up in later life, how to deal with that, and what kind of answers do we seek and how to find them, what to do with these answers. So on the same lines, and we'll go into that a bit later, I'll ask Snehal also, so Snehal Deshpande, if you could also, introduce yourself and see where you fall in here. It would be very nice before we start the discussion.
Thank you, Ekta, and thank you, Annie, for being with us. Whatever Annie said was just the tip of the iceberg, as you can say. She has done so much. When I read about her, I was really, really impressed with the type of workshops she holds, the relationship workshops, the trauma workshops. I look forward to being a part of your sessions, Annie, very soon. And yes, to come to me, I started my career way back in 1990 And I was lucky enough to be mentored by the senior most neonatologist in India, Dr. Premshet. And I started working in the NICU in Bombay's prestigious children's hospital, by Jairbai Wadia Children's Hospital. My career began from there. I didn't know anything about babies, but yes, she made me connect to the little ones in a very human way. And she used to tell me, look at the mothers, look at them handling them. You'll get to learn a lot from the body language of the mother. So every day morning for me was a treat. I used to wait for her. We used to go to the NICU together, have a round. So that's how I started. Then I graduated later on. I certified as a neurodevelopmental therapist. I did my sensory integration. I did my connections and attachment. And when I came to connections and attachment, of course, that and heartfulness. So when I started meditating through heartfulness, I'm a heartfulness trainer as well. I came to know that there are something which is called as samskaras or impressions as they are called, and they lay a big impact on us. So I got thinking, what about the little ones? They undergo so much amount of trauma, so much amount of hardships when they're coming into the world. And then I started reading and doing more NICU courses. And now when we look at the modern neonatal psychology and modern, as you said, the perinatal psychology, I've been studying and I've been an ardent student of the same. And I do tell mothers to be that life is all forming within the womb. It is experience which starts from the womb. It is not life, and learning starts at the moment of conception. And we have to understand that as a mother, that my job is not to be with the mobile, but my job is to connect that little life which is inside me and which comes outside to represent whatever I am today. So that's what I am, Ekta. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Snehal. I had a very, let's start with this question. You said life begins in the womb. In what do you mean exactly by life? And I'll take the same question later on to Annie and her look at this. So what do you mean? What begins actually at conception? What actually happens other than, of course, the fact that the fetus starts growing and becoming a human life by itself?
So a lot of things start happening the moments the cells unite, and the sensory development which we follow as therapists. It is the tactile system which forms first. The system which we have from top to bottom, in to out, which covers our viscera, which covers everything, is the system of skin. And this really impacts our life in many ways. So touch is the form of connection. Touch is a form of learning.
Yes. I think maybe I will jump in with your little background noise here.
Yeah, there is some background noise. Even I can.
Yeah. I would just so glad you have this perspective. And one thing I want to say is sometimes the mothers will get afraid they have to be perfect. And I want to say, no, life happens, but how you communicate with your baby, how you reset your mind, reset your heart, because you will have struggles, of course, as a mother. But as you reset and continue to welcome, it's as if the soul is coming in. And you said it just right. The viscera, the organs, the bones, the structure, all of this is shaping. And we have what's called implicit memory in the cells. That even though we don't, the prenate doesn't have cognitive memory, its body function and brain is already scanning for danger or safety, and it's making meaning. It was such an astounding thing to realize that infants actually make up a kind of identity belief system. And if mothers understand that, and if they are having a struggle, they can say to their babies, oh, this is not for you. Daddy and I will work this out, but that the baby can feel safe and not pick up mother's anxiety or pick up mother's struggle simply because the mother is letting the baby know they are okay. And it's this wisdom, who would have thought that, yes, you have a living, responsive participant, your child is sometimes bringing you some teachings as well.
So the mother has to realize that whatever is happening around her is going to shape up that little one inside. It is her thoughts, it is her interactions, it is the father's thoughts, his interactions, the family, the community, everything around Ekta shapes the life of the baby in a very, very different way. To bring out the best, we have to be our best and give the best. I think giving and actually feeling makes our journey easier.
Yes, I guess I would say too that um, whatever happened is the hidden story. You know, it's precognitive memory, it's in the body tissues, and you start to see it show up in child behavior and then even in adult behavior. And the good news is that with mindfulness and awareness and curiosity, we can actually go back, even as a grown up, to heal that moment in time. You know, it's not like we pretend it didn't happen if there were difficulties, but that we can integrate that time so the neuroscience of ourselves doesn't activate into distress or trigger patterns or emotional reactivity. That we are given this gift of natural intelligence, and with meditation, with awareness, with inner work, we can actually recreate a field that, in a way, is connected universally, not distressed by everything that happened. And I am so happy you are doing your work in Mumbai, that you had the wonderful mentorship and your own curiosity, because people need the kind of support to understand how to work with all of this. And the babies need that kind of support for mothers to understand that, oh, it's not just a body that's forming, it's a whole spirit.
That's interesting. I was hearing both of you speak. I feel it's difficult today in the medical fraternity to talk about the spirit, to talk about how one would conceive of life being as one part of the cellular function, right? So, where we see humans mostly as just bodies or the mind as a mechanical function within, how do both of you take this kind of an understanding, this very subtle, this very finer aspect of consciousness, of the mind, of the behavioral patterns? How do you take it to new mothers or people who are conceiving? How do you make them become aware of this way on as a preventive measure? Because if they are prepared, right, then they would be able to take care of this straight on, and then it would make it much lighter for you to sort of handle this before it happens, rather than take care of cases when they do come up, which are very difficult, I believe, to deal with, right? It's a lot of heartache. So
Annie, you want to go in for this?
You think so? I think you do it as well, honey, just in your own wonderful way. I think that it's a deep question, and it's such an important question, because we are trained to make sure that science is represented. You know, that we understand the neurology, we understand the physical needs of the babies. And yet, when you are with an infant, you can tell they are not just a mechanical self. They are not just a crying bundle of distress or comfort, that there's a responsiveness there. And when you are trained or have the gift of spending time in nature, spending time with animals, spending time with the young children, you realize that there is always a dialogue happening. And this dialogue cannot happen if we are just mechanical. There's an intelligence, you can feel it, you can see it. And even, at first the babies with their eyes won't look back at the mother because they're busy internally. And then there comes a developmental time where they start to use their eyes for connection. But even before the eyes come online, there is still responsiveness. And when we teach the mothers how to feel that, then they are not so disappointed or tired of just, helping this baby that doesn't really know they're there. I want to say the baby does know you're there. The baby responds. The baby knows you're there from the beginning of learning your voice, learning your rhythm, learning your speech patterns, and same with the father. So I don't know, maybe there are measurements of the soul in the body, but in my psychotherapy work, we are looking to have, anytime there was a distress and caused someone to dissociate out of the body, which is a psychological term, it just means that when the physical body is too frightened, too much in sensory input, it cannot process it, that there is a mechanism to protect the soul, perhaps, and we call it dissociation. So it means people might hide in a cave inside under stress. They might sort of fly out and fragment and get highly creative. And there's the last ditch one, I call it the 3 forms of dissociation. The last one is the body actually might even think it's dying. And I think sometimes a baby with a difficult birth could think it was going to die. And at that point, there is almost like a grandiose, a rush of adrenaline to live. And in that, there's almost like a flying out of the body and getting bigger than life. It's a protective field. Now, in psychology, it can become difficult because some people seek that vast spiritual place and they are actually trying to stay away from real life. We do not want people staying away from real life and becoming spiritual. We want them bringing that sense of understanding of spirit into their body, into their daily life, into their relationships. And so it's a wonderful question. And I don't know how to say other than you start to feel it, you start to know. And obstetricians I have met, Dr. Raylene Phelps, she is the head of the birthpsychology.com and a neonatal psychologist in California. And she is helping the early babies as well to build this bridge. We know they're there.
I would like to add on to you, Annie. I think it's really wonderful the way you have answered this question. And mothers who get pregnant, they don't know actually how to take care of themselves or what has to be done to connect with that little one inside. So what I teach them or what I walk them is how do you really connect? How do you be with yourself? Be in that inner self where you can actually create that space, that hub where the feeling of love and feeling of whatever you want to give to your baby is there. So I always tell the mothers, connection starts right from the beginning. Just put your hand on your tummy and feel the baby, speak to the baby and connect with it. Whisper. I think that whispering with your touch and with your heart is what the baby needs. That's what I tell them, and that builds their consciousness. I've seen babies who have happy mothers. It's so essential that the mother is happy. So mothers who are happy throughout their pregnancy and not giving undue stress or not stressed for every little thing what is told to them, I think those babies are awesome. They are real fighters. They're born to win.
There's a lot here. There's a lot here that both of you have said. I hear from both of you that it's not just about, of course, the moms and the babies would be so happy, but that happiness creates the right emotional, I would say, environment for both of them to grow, right? For the family to be good in terms of, I would say, not just feeling who they are, but also trying to achieve life's other roles and responsibilities, then just click into place. But in places where this doesn't happen, right? Like you were telling Snehal something important, that people don't just switch off their phones and they aren't able to even spend quality time with themselves, let alone their children, right? So, and in today's world, this has become not just a distraction, it's become a way to live. So, what do you foresee? What kind of a future do you see for humanity if these principles are not taken care of now?
Oh my goodness, you're addressing such a big issue, you know, and I know from the way the screen time can grab somebody's focus. You know, screen time grabs the focus through the eyes and the attention, and that attention is what needs to pull away from the screen and embrace the baby or embrace the mother's experience. And I really don't know where we're headed. I feel sad about it. And I try to feel like maybe there's some positive piece in this that we don't understand yet. My main concern is that we need to stay in our bodies. Babies need to crawl, mothers need to touch, like you were saying, Snehal, do they need to touch the baby's tummy and communicate with the baby? But if we become just mental, we lose our natural intelligence. And so I really suggest to the mothers and to limit children's screen time, to make sure they have physical activities with blocks and digging in the dirt and using movement and expression and touch. And you can make little games out of cardboard boxes, you know, the baby can crawl through. You don't need to have all the special toys. They just need things they can touch and things they can put in their mouth and yes, so that's my wish is we stay connected to our physical natural intelligence.
And they have this, right? I mean, the mothers have this, the babies have this, no matter where, in which part of the world. I remember seeing a very beautiful movie called Babies, and you have four children growing up in different parts of the world in very different environments, right?
Yes, I
It was
saw that also.
so nice, right? So I believe, yes, and having been a mom myself, I've had two children, I can understand, I can totally relate to what you say, though my children were born at a time when there was not so much of a digital distraction going on. And now with COVID, it's become virtual insanity everywhere. So I think your message today and Snehal's message today, Annie, is going to be very powerful to so many mothers who I hope will listen to this, or wannabe moms, or moms who are already with children where they're facing, like you say, difficulties. I'd like to hear Snehal on this also, because I think it's a powerful moment that you have, started with saying something so simple but so powerful. Snehal, what do you think about this?
So definitely today I was in the clinic and one of the kids who had come to me uh, had a little bit of autism, or he was on the spectrum, and he was roaming around aimlessly, not wanting to communicate. So I usually take the parents interview for almost like an hour or so. It goes on for an hour and a half to study the belief systems, to study from where they are, and media time, of course. So this mother, usually mothers do give them the mobile when they are wanting to work and they feel they're spending time with the baby. So it is giving the mobile and being around. So this mother had given around 10 hours a day to the baby as screen time. And every time I see, especially in this post-COVID phase when the little ones have started coming, many of the mothers themselves are frustrated. So they're trying to spend time more on the mobile, talking to people to see what's happening. So, and that's really, really affecting the little ones. So the new ones who are coming into me have a lot of baggage which they come with. And it's very essential for us to work on that baggage. Very frankly speaking, I feel babies speak. They can tell what they want. They can actually express. So babies smile, babies looks, babies cry, tells the mother, tells the people what exactly they want. If they cannot read the signs, I think then that's where they are at loss. So I usually teach my parents to read the smiles, to read the cries, to read their movements. The way they move tells us a lot about their tummies, about their respiration. You need not have a stethoscope and feel them. The moment you see their posture, you can understand them. And I think Annie will definitely agree with me on this. Even if they're constipated, you can make out from their face that there's something going on inside their tummy. And then I asked the mother, did the child poop today? And then she says, no, it's like 24 hours back. And I say, see, that's where it is coming from. So understanding those little cues is very important, and that's the reason the mother has to be extra careful not to handle the or even keep the mobile around her when she's with the baby. It's one, baby is me and I'm the baby's toy. The mother is the best toy the baby can have. And it's either ways, It's the roots of empathy are created in that connection.
Oh, how well said. How well said.
Yes. I have one little piece to add because I think what you're saying is so key. The baby's eyes are actually developing, and you don't want young children to be looking at a screen as their eyes are developing. I worked with a couple came to me with their toddler, and she was just beginning to walk, and I could see that her attention was very different than a lot of other children, and it was not able to focus, not in a good way. And she looked like she was sort of lost in a dream. And I couldn't understand. I kept asking them about what happened at the birth, and they said that, oh, during the pregnancy that they were concerned about premature labor. So they had the parents the doctor said, just watch a lot of TV. And so they would sit together and they would watch TV. Now, this child didn't see the TV. She was a prenate. But what happened is that zony capture of attention that a television can do captured the mother's attention in a way that she was not attuning with the baby. So when the baby came out, she didn't have that connection you speak so well of, that importance of that connection. So I want to say this not to alarm parents, but to really highlight it does make a difference. You're absolutely right that the mother and the baby are each other's communication, the baby's best toy. And if mothers can appreciate that and also get interaction with other mothers with COVID, I think it's a wonderful time for families to learn how to be together, not to disappear into the screen, but to get out the cardboard and the scissors and the blocks and the experiences of sharing and reading stories out loud. All of these things that are human connection.
Yes, I think what you're saying will make all the more sense now that holiday season is coming and that most people are going to be staying indoors with Christmas. Normally it's a family time and there's going to be a lot of heartbreak over Christmas, especially if quarantine measures come up in many countries across the world. It'll be vacation time in every place in the world. So I think most children are going to be home. And at these times, simple advice by people with so much experience like you and Snehalji are going to really make a difference in the way families are going to adapt and start working around this, because everything starts with the first step, right? So, what I would say are the few tips that you can give. I mean, I know you are your work is so extensive, and I'm addressing this to people who are going to listen to us who may come from all different fields, not just the experts. I mean, if it was an expert talk, I would have, taken a completely different angle and asked you a little bit more about premature births, etc. There's so much to explore. I mean, I think we have little time. But between the two of you, how would you say people should be taking wellness for children, for babies, and think of the few things that we can do in the months to come to face, extended measures in case they crop up?
Snehal, do you want to go first?
So I would say first, it always starts with us. It starts with all of us. The mothers have to understand that the well-being of of the baby starts with her. So I always tell everyone that if you're sitting under an air con, you feel cold. If you're sitting out in the sun, you're going to feel hot. So what you are inside, you're going to give outside. So if you're going to be happy and joyful, you're going to create that vibration of joy and happiness in the baby. So learn to create that joy, learn to create that happiness within you. Because creation, as my master says, is all about vibration. So if that vibration is very near and very pure as what nature is, I think the babies will feel it. Babies actually respond to that vibration very fast. And with the COVID coming in, the vibrations have been so different. So if all of us can create together egregore of good vibrations, or change the way the world is vibrating now, I think we can create even little bit of change. It will be a big shift for every one of us. I hope you agree with me, Annie.
Yes, I do. And I think that the practical tips over the holidays when everybody's together, I would really encourage mothers and fathers to get down on the floor with the babies. I would encourage the babies to be allowed to be on the floor where they can crawl, where their tummy is against the earth, where they can push with their hands and learn to raise their head, because babies' development is physical. And if you sit them upright, they are using muscles to balance instead of their whole body. This is good for their spine, it's good for their eyes, it's good for their hearts to feel safe that they can roll and turn. So mothers who learn to get down on the floor actually are happier. They are learning their baby's language, so they don't just have to take care of an infant. They actually get to play. And I think so many adults try to correct children. Children need guidance and they need a kind of discipline for sure, so they don't develop in a way that they cannot be social. But they need parents who know how to play, and they're listening for the hidden story the child is expressing in the play, are much more compassionate, are much more understanding, and the baby can give back. The child can give back to the grown-up when the grown-up enters their world. And this is a I would say, let your house be a little messy. Have a place where you can play, and it's a child-friendly space that you can have, and maybe the rest of your house is nice and clean, and but you have a specific play place, and you don't worry about perfection there. You get nourished by the curiosity. I am always amazed at how intelligent the children are.
Wow.
Before COVID, in my play office, I have all these toys and stuffed animals, and we we take the stuffed animals and we make stories. And so parents who learn how to do that so much get understanding of their child's world. And sometimes you can even use the stories as teaching stories with the stuffed animals. Like, oh, the child who, walks up the stairs and rolls down and hits his head. Oh no, poor. So we don't run up the stairs and fall down. It's like learning how to have child-friendly language. And
Yes.
I just really think parents will be not reborn, that's a funny word, but they will remember their own childlike nature. Yeah. So
Okay. Wow.
singing, playing, creating things. Yeah.
I think as therapists, we also become children. I love that reason. I love this profession because it makes me so vibrant when I'm with them. I enjoy playing with them. I enjoy going to the floor with them. And I agree with Annie that tummy time is very essential for the babies, extremely essential. Many parents just keep them on the bed and they say, okay, my baby is safe there. And I always tell the parents, get them down, play with them down, go to them. It's always, you have to respect the person, right? So when we are speaking, we speak there, but the baby is down, so you can't stay up and say, I'm here. You have to go down to the floor and say, here I come, how are you? So that's the it's so much fun. It's so much fun to be with them. Also giving them the right toys, as she said, any silly thing, and it may be the mother's sari or dupatta, some colored thing what they can get hold of and they can play. So tactile play is so essential in the first few months of life. And mother's body, how the child explores his or her body and the mother around him, that creates a boundary between the mother and the child. And that boundary again later on, as the child goes out and goes down and the chair and comes out of the chair and over, so all these movements alongside with the different facial expressions, very important. I think reflections of expressions, how you emote yourself and become a clown in front of them, they learn more rather than having a stiff face and say hello, hi. You have to really become a child with them, and that's what I've learned staying with children. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think children teach us how to love all over again, babies
Yes.
especially, you know. So I'm so amazed, and I seriously wish I could stay on and listen and ask you more questions because I have so many of them. So if you have another session, that I'd be so glad to join in, Annie. I am
Yes.
so happy that you're there. I mean, this is amazing. This is just lovely. I have to go to another show, so I'm just going to leave both of you lovely women to continue this discussion because there's much more to say. So I'm going to hand this back over to you from here.
Thank
And Annie, thank you so much.
Yes.
Pleasure.
A
Pleasure
pleasure
knowing
to
you.
meet you. Yes, so
So
much.
before Ekta goes, Ekta is working with a university connect, and she would definitely like to connect with you and connect you to Heartfulness and all the work together. So thank
Well,
you,
thank
Ekta.
you. Thank you so much. Yes.
Goodbye. Lovely. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.
Bye.
So as we continue the talk,
Yeah.
Annie, you tell me from about a little bit of your work and how you started working with families. What did you do? What really interested you in getting into this profession?
Yes, I think part of it in my own biography, I reached a time in my early 20s where my life had so much stress. I had big traumas happen. I had built a house and it burned to the ground. My partner was drinking, my animals were killed, and I had all this stress. And fortunately, my sister was out in California teaching at a meditation school. And she said, "You must come out here." And I was really, my mind was not centered. And so I went out there. I had just a tiny suitcase because all my things had burned away, and I was in what they call PTSD. I didn't know it, but that's what it was from all this stress. And it was a Sufi practice, a school that taught you sit and you listen inside, you ground yourself, you pay attention to internal sensation, and you learn how to, ask a question from the heart and receive an answer. So it was interrupting the chatter, 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 or the worry. My brain was so full of worry. But they taught us how to sit in the center of your head, how to organize your chakras, how to ground your energy. And all of a sudden, I could feel something else giving me calmness and confidence. And from there, I became very interested in sort of healing ourselves, the tools we use to help ourselves heal. That we do need to use tools, we need to find practices because our own stress patterns will not give us guidance. And so that was a very big breakthrough in my mid 20s. And then I went on to study the connection of emotions and body. And we use Neo Reichian breath sessions and release with bioenergetics and movement. And then I also found body mind centering, which brought me to the infant development. I was working at a daycare to make enough money to go to my studies, and I was a little afraid of children. I didn't quite know how to deal with them, but I became so curious because I realized I need to learn how to be with these precious beings. And so that was the beginning. And then I had to keep unraveling my own story all the way back to the incubator. And I read Chilton Pierce's book, The Magical Child, and how many cultures don't separate babies and mothers. They keep them together, and how that makes such a difference in the sense of safety, well being, and trust. And so the incubator was actually a modern technology. They used to keep the baby with the family. And Dr. Niels Bergman has wonderful statistical data from South Africa about premature infants. He puts them on the mama's chest, and they are tied on with a wrapper, and they get so the mother can be with the other children, and the baby is always there skin to skin. And his statistics show so much of better development, less cortisol, which is a stress hormone, better weight gain, better sleeping rhythms. And so we know that technology has its usefulness and it can be overdone. And so we want to, when possible, keep the mothers and the fathers skin to skin with their babies. And for me, going through all this personal healing, I became understanding of how body, mind, spirit, you address those teachings, or you study those things simultaneously, and your own spirit shines. I just felt so much happier and so much better. And out of that, I just wanted to share tools. I kept seeing, in my work with children, or in the mental health clinics. I was a therapist in the public schools. And I saw that people just need the skills, the tools, and how to, my curiosity kept guiding me. So that's what brought me into this work. And then I wanted to write books so that parents could understand. So I have like Birth Trauma for Parents little ebook, or Help for Sensory Challenges. And so this was my big journey of gratitude. So I want to give back. I want to make things accessible, not just for the professionals, but for the mamas and the dads and the children and the community. I feel grateful, to have had the teachers I've had, to have the life struggles to work through, so that I had to grow.
Lovely. So, any tips you have for mommies who's children, the preemie babies who cry a lot? They're so full of stress. I mean, we understand that language, but can you dwell on this a little bit and give a little bit of tips to the mothers whose babies cry a lot?
Yes, that is so difficult. An infant cry can exhaust the mother. So one of the things can suggest is, often when a baby cries, you start to contract, and a mother goes into frustration because they cannot help the baby. So sometimes there's this frustration that builds and builds. And so I want to say to the mothers, stretch, make sound yourself, reach with your ears toward the sound to see if you can understand what kind of cry, what kind of story. And then vary with the babies. Hopefully you can have the baby with touch. But if you cannot, then sing to your baby. My mother used to sit 2 rooms away when I was in the NIC unit and send me love. And I could feel it. After a while, she got depressed because she had to also to take care of my older sister. So I could feel also the time where she stopped coming to hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. And it
So
was
we need
such
to feel.
Yeah, so you keep holding that baby in love, even from a distance. And it's hard for mamas because they want to touch their babies. They want to bond through the body, through the smell. If a mother can make a recording of her voice talking to the baby, she can leave it in the incubator so that that baby through the night, if the mother's away, can hear the voice. They are making things for the little infants now. They are crocheting them, the wonderful women, little octopuses with these tendrils of crochet, and the babies can hold them. The baby grasp, and they put eyes on the little crocheted octopus, and they are comforting these babies in the NIC units. So I would say to the mother that you have a journey that can be repaired and recovered. And you will probably need to really understand sensory challenges, because that is the biggest part of prematurity is the baby needed to cook longer. They needed that protective container. So if you can wear a sling and carry your baby that first month right up against your heart while you walk around, they have these wonderful slings that are not so mechanical, but more fabric. And you learn to tie them. People in cultures all over the world use these cloth, just a simple cloth, and the baby is there. The baby doesn't need to be the focus of your attention or your fear. Sometimes the mother's fear is focused on the baby. And gosh, the mother needs a big hug. You know, the mother needs adults to help, other mothers to be able to talk to so that they can feel the grace of trust that their baby is okay. You know, that their baby will make it. And it's you know, that's why we have NIC units and all that, because sometimes the babies need all those extra things. But I would say first, watch Dr. Bergman's research, the skin to skin, the prematurity that the babies are tied to the mother. Maybe that's all they need.
So my next question, you spoke on something sensory issues so the children can have. And as therapists, we are aware that sensory systems lay the base for further motor development. So what type of sensory and motor issues do you feel our premature children can face?
One thing is they can not, they have not been loaded, you know, as a baby grows in utero, a full-term baby starts to fold in on itself. There's no room to swim around. So they fold in and they get loaded with pressure. It's like a spring, and it's the muscles, we call them the flexors, that bring us into ourselves so we can go out. These are primitive reflexes. When you touch a baby's hand, they close up, they flex. And we want that strong flexion. So babies born early, you need to really give them pressure, like fold them into a ball, give them nice squishy through the joints. You want to give them pressure, like you're going to load in the sensory awareness of joint to spine through the head. So you make a baby ball frequently with the premature babies. The other one that the preemies can have is, so that would be proprioception, the ability to feel weight and pressure and tolerate pressure. Because think about it, if you have a child who can't tolerate pressure, that's hard for life. You want to teach them that pressure is okay. And then tactile is often very common with preemies. It's as if they need a second skin. Their skin didn't get that extra time to grow the nice fat. So what we use with the children is we do skin brushing. There's an exercise where you tell the child, I'm going to touch your arm from your shoulder to your wrist. And you use what kind of touch? I'm going to squeeze. Oh, now I'm going to pat. And now I'm going to pinch. And you help the child learn sensation. Now, this is for the children. With the preemies, I would say just steady hand, that just holding your baby's skin, but you have to let your hand become weighted and warm. And you don't want to be too stimulating. You don't want to do this soft, light touch. It will drive the baby's nuts.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, you want a little bit of compressive touch, not fierce, but responsive, weighted. You can take your baby's feet and put one hand on their back, their low back, their sacrum, and you can push their feet in and let them feel where they are. They can feel, here's my feet and my legs, and you can go in and out like an accordion, but you help them fold in and then you help them push out, and you help them fold in, and you help them push out, and they start to connect through their core, because preemies will have low tone, they may be floppy even, and you connect them, you want to get their strength all the way in their deep belly.
Lovely, lovely. I think this could be really helpful. What I would also like to understand is how much the psyche of the mother, I mean, how calm she should be and what she should do to calm herself down. So I do teach the mothers meditation. Do you feel that meditation does have a role in the mothers calming down and handling their babies in a different way?
Absolutely. I'm so happy you are teaching them meditation. And I know people have different pathways to be able to meditate because it's a skill and it's difficult. Sometimes guided meditation, where you follow an image, like you go along a beautiful field and you lay down against a beautiful tree and you get the answer to a dream. You know, something guided can help people whose minds will not stop. Sometimes meditation is about emptying your mind, which is wonderful. That's ultimately what happens. But for those people who are very quick in the brain and worried and anxious, they need something to follow. So I say to mothers, find the right kind of meditation so that your brain really does slow down. Think of baby speed 6 to 10 times slower than mama speed. And so if mothers can learn to slow down and pay attention and get calm, like you say, and sometimes a mother has to not be flat calm. They have to be able to be also, hello. They have to be a little bit expressive with their babies. So everything is not just so gentle that the baby doesn't get resilient. And if the baby's making sound, maybe the mom makes a little sound. Wow, we're loud today. Let's sing. And so it's that balance of expression and containment. But if the mother is all agitated, then maybe she needs to hand the baby to the father and run around the block for a minute and come back. Maybe she didn't have enough movement herself so that she can relax.
I think you have just hit the point right. Many times mothers do not understand that they need time out for themselves and also to exercise, which is very essential. Just walking down a brisk walk, a run really helps the mother a lot, and developing the right connection. So, as you said, some mothers do that, but they do it mechanically. They are not involved into it. They do it because the therapist has told them, or because maybe it is written down, do these movement 10 times, they'll do it. And okay, my work is done. There are other mothers whom I meet, okay, I've done. Okay, I put the baby on tummy time, I've done. But after that, what? But the baby is not rolling, the baby is not going side to side. So, are you involved in that baby? It is so important for the mothers, and postpartum depression is known in mothers, right? So, how do you feel that we can, as therapists, help the mothers out in dealing with postpartum depression?
I think that therapists who understand sensory motor, and I have a book, Help for Sensory Challenges. It's a very good, easy beginning for therapists to start thinking about, well, what is it to be embodied? And mothers who have postpartum depression are in a way, a chemical fog, so it's not to treat it lightly or make it like, oh, just shake it off, but you actually have to give the mother perhaps the tools to come out of the fog back to life. And with this, I would say with the mothers, there's a thing that babies do in tummy time. They lie on the floor and they have, everything goes to the mouth, and then there's an object, and the baby will first, they will push into the floor, and then they will see the object. Their attention comes out. And that's what we want for the depressed mothers. We want their attention to be able to come back out, away from sort of the heaviness or the chemical flatness. And what a baby does is they push, their head comes up, they see, and then they reach and they take hold, they grasp and they pull. And they are going from themselves out to the world and back. And I have used this measuring, I call it measuring space, with adults in my therapy, where they are caught in an anxious field, they can't slow down. I say, I think you don't know how to take up space, how to come from self to a hula hoop, a nice, healthy kinesphere that's safe and connected. So I have them measure. I put an object on the windowsill and they're in their chair and I say, okay, now I want you to slowly, slowly watch your hand. I want you to go to that object and I want you to take hold of it. Now I want you to feel it, feel the weight. And now I want you to bring it back to you. And I want you to do this 5 times for every day for a week to help come out back into the world. And it's what babies show us in their measuring, as they're learning to measure time, how much time does it take to reach and connect, and space, how far away or how close. So those are skills a mom can do to reclaim her connection, because it's her field of depression that the baby feels. My mother had postpartum depression because she couldn't touch me. Finally, when I came home, it was almost like, what baby? And so she had a lot of love, but I know a baby will reach out. And if the mother is flat, the baby will not reach. They will give up reaching. And you want baby's curiosity to be, or they will reach all the time in desperation. So you want a baby to be able to come out and be able to come back. Mothers don't have to entertain the baby all the time. That is exhausting. Mothers can actually let the baby play with your awareness, so the baby feels safe because you are there, but you're not always in the baby's face. You're not always invasive. So it's that quiet balance where mom gets a little rest, baby gets a little rest, and they still know they're together. So I said a lot of different pieces, but I would say for mothers to be able to come into relationship and back to self, to give your baby tummy time so that the baby can explore, and for therapists helping mothers become aware of sensory motor skills and the perceptual games and help for sensory challenges. Because understanding a dilemma is one thing. Giving new information to the body mind is what makes for change.
Thank you, Annie. It's so wonderful. I wish we can go on, and I look forward to you becoming a part of our well-being programs, which we are going to offer to our parents and to our to-be mothers. I really thank your presence for this webinar today, and I'm sure all the offerings what you have on your website will help all our parents and to connect with you and have a wonderful time with you and your teachings.
Yes, I have a free PDF library so that really come and read about these things. And if anybody really is, when we show this seminar on prematurity, anybody who comes that day, I will send you an audio of how to hear the hidden stories, because
Wow.
parents learn how to hear the hidden stories. I will send a free audio because I really want parents to know, oh, how do I listen? How? And then they can enjoy more the interaction with their children.
Thank you. And as you know, we offer heartfulness meditation free of cost to everyone who is willing and who wants to participate. do feel free to connect with us, with all your parents. We can have a session from our side for everyone. We do have preceptors, trainers, heartfulness trainers all over the world, and we would be more than happy to support your institute. Thank you so much.
I just wanted to say that you have such generous offerings to the world, and they are so essential. And that to anybody who hears this, please share it with your friends. Please get people connected to heartfulness and wellness, because we really do. We don't need the experts all the time. We need the tools. And Heartfulness Wellness will give you those tools. It's so important. And I thank you so much for your invitation to collaborate and um, share these tools that are really our gifts from being human.
Thank you. Thanks, Annie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Abhirami, for